CRN TV is connecting you with the industry leaders who are protecting us from the latest security threats. Join me, Cass Cooper, as we highlight the expertise of women who are driving innovation and solving today's toughest cyber challenges. Welcome to Channel Women in Security. Hi, I'm Cass Cooper, and joining us today is Rosanna Filingeri, Vice President of Sales at Global Managed Security Service Provider CyberSafe Solutions. Welcome, Rosanna. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's talk first about cybersecurity challenges. What are the biggest challenges you've faced in your career securing digital environments?
I think the one consistency that I've seen over time has been just this battle between products and, they're all marketed to be something that saves the world, right? And even best in breed, best in class products, generally speaking, need a security practitioner behind them, right? We have to actually look at what they're telling us, understand where they drop off, and most importantly, build a security program that accommodates for risks. So the biggest challenge that I've seen has just been gaps in coverage, sometimes over-reliance on those underlying platforms. But ways that we've been solving that is working to educate on how to have a consistent and cohesive security program, bringing visibility to all of the places a client might inherit risk, allowing us to detect and respond really in that real-time fashion.
So what trends in cybersecurity are you excited about?
When we think about security and best practices, generally we always go back to regulation. Right. So whether it's insurance, whether it's a regulatory body, right, a client in an underlying industry that has to adhere to something like a HIPAA or FINRA or things of that nature, all of those regulatory requirements typically have one thing that they're looking for with a number of different nuances. But that's, will you know about a security event or a security compromise before damage is done? How quickly can you detect, how quickly respond, and most importantly, how do you recover? So the education that we're focusing on with clients today is understanding, look, every client's unique, every business is unique. We can have two regulated, let's just use healthcare as an example, two hospitals or two doctors' practices that look the same and function very similar, that have to adhere to the same regulation, but they'll inherit risk in different ways. So their security practitioners, their security team, their outsourced providers, even their managed service providers have to know that about them. What makes them tick, right? And what's their unique level of risk acceptance? That differs across the board. So once we educate and really make sure that clients understand that themselves, that's when we can take the strides to utilize all of the investments that they've made and build a cohesive security program around that.
Tell me a little bit more about the term risk acceptance. For someone who, is new to the space or is trying to understand how to explain it to a client, what does that mean?
Sure. There's this saying. So 100% security means no functionality, right? We would lock everything down. It would be way too tough to even function. So there has to be a balance between those two things. We need to get our jobs done, but we need to do it in a secure fashion. Sometimes clients have to use old products or platforms. They don't like it, we don't like it, but it's the way of doing business. In that particular situation, it can't always be replaced. So a client might say, well, I have to accept this risk. Now, with risk acceptance, it's how do we accept the risk, but control the damage if something ever does impact the organization because of that risk? How do we build a detection capability around it? Maybe it's with detection. Maybe it's with a proper cyber insurance policy that helps them understand, all right, I've knocked out prevention, I've knocked out detection, there's this little bit left. They move that over to the right policy. So it's kind of a larger principle, but it's definitely something that should be part of everyone's conversations.
Yeah, it sounds like an MSSP is really kind of like playing matchmaker. You're finding the great products, you're finding the great solutions, you're really looking deeply into what those risks are.
It's a lot of fun, and you're right, it is matchmaking, but it's also figuring out what's appropriate for that underlying client. So from our perspective, from my company as a managed security service provider, we we perform a number of different services, but SOC as a service is the fundamental offering that we have. And it's so funny because if you think security acronyms, it's like alphabet soup. You know, you have your EDR, your MDR, your XDR, and sometimes that means something different per provider, or someone may have an experience with products. So a lot of what we do, back to that education, back to that matchmaking, is, hey, how do we use these best of breed, figure out where they drop off, and introduce that supplementation?
So let's talk a little bit about your career and your career growth. How have your various roles in customer success and account management shaped your leadership approach when it comes to cybersecurity?
Sure. Being able to function in those business units has let me understand the day-to-day, what client experience needs to look like or does look like, what success looks like there. And now it allows me to educate our team and our partner base on the things that clients may be looking for day in and day out. And truthfully, it's a partner, right?
Yeah.
They don't want just another vendor in the portfolio. They want someone who understands them. They know what makes them tick, and can help, be the person to say, hey, there's a better way to do this, or we found a better mousetrap. And that doesn't always cost money, right? I think that's where people sometimes go wrong. Just investing dollars doesn't fix the problem, right? It's smart money in a business context with an appropriate policy or plan or procedure around that. They can do things that are free. And sometimes it's just reminding clients, hey, we can make major strides that cost us no money at all.
Yeah. Sounds like it's an opportunity also to be creative.
Yeah.
What are the key factors to building strong partnerships in cybersecurity right now?
It's relationships. I think it always will be. Security is one of those things that there's a big element of trust, of course. The fundamentals of security say it's not an if, it's a when scenario, but that's not what we have to be talking about. It's how prepared are we for when it does, right? So going back to having that educational conversation, going back to be able to just say to folks, hey, this is a journey. We're all here together. Building that relationship, building that trust, and also being able to say, look, there's a couple things that you may want to do before you make an investment like this. I'll give you a good example. Pen testing. Pen testing is simulated hacking, right? Can I get into this environment? If a security professional hears deficiencies or gaps in scoping that conversation, we want to talk with them on how to close that, because we want to make the test as accurate as it would be for a real life scenario. If we know there's holes, and our dollars are better spent closing those. So doing the right thing by a client sometimes is encouraging them to think potentially outside of the four walls or scenario they may be within, but it's also doing the right thing by them to be able to say, hey, look, let's build something, right? Security is a journey. It's not an overnight type of approach.
I'm so glad we were able to give these insights and share this information with our audience, and I look forward to seeing you in person real soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Channel Women in Security from CRN TV. Be sure to subscribe for more stories from the women who are shaping cybersecurity, breaking barriers, and making their mark on the channel ecosystem.